It has been a while since I have responded to comments. I have gotten a lot of new subscribers over the last month, so thank you all. Just going to go through some of these. I appreciate when people comment, and often I have things to say. One comment. Glad it went well. Hope it gets uploaded so I can see it. Yeah, that was about my Ancient Aliens presentation. I did that. It did go well. I did another video after this. I felt a little bit rusty. It has on the what's on the USI's liberal arts. Okay, so here I am. So
labor and use human capital to accomplish things for their egos.
5.8 thousand views. That's not too bad. It's got some comments. I wonder if I can just see them all. I can go through the comments on here. You're a party pooper. You would think this was done in the early 70s with the amount of knowledge this guy seems to have. Much has been learned since then, but this guy apparently has not been exposed to it yet. Just give me the evidence, people. This whole argument of, oh, there's so many things you don't know and do your own research. Just say what it is. Say what your best argument is. Learned so much history. Okay. Too many words saying nothing. Lots of backstabbing. I'm not backstabbing. I'm front stabbing. There's no reason to stab them in the back. So 5.8 thousand views, that's good. You can see a lot of these comments are negative, which is very typical. It's such a far stretch to claim that people who espouse the ancient astronaut theory in our current day are eugenicists or Nazis who would rather disregard other cultures. Go watch the whole presentation, see what Eric von Daniken actually says, and look at my graph at the end. Not everybody who believes this stuff knows about the kind of nasty underpinnings of it, but it's ridiculous to say that that's not part of it. What a poor presentation. And then he used 3 exclamation points. That's how you know that he is serious. I hope he's representing himself with that underdeveloped work. Just keep away from public view, please. Well, you lost there because it is in the public view and it's been viewed many, many more times than your channel, which has 2 videos. So, Labyrinthus, is that your band? Okay, anyway, I need to go through all of these comments. You get the idea. I put a version of the talk up on my channel that has the slides inserted in the right order, and I had a very generous person do that for me, so that's good. If you want another way to watch it. Moving along. What did I do after that? So there it is. Ancient Aliens, a joke that isn't really funny, so you can watch this version if you want. That has the slides in there. 6 comments on this. Find it important to get the past correct. Genuinely powerful statement. Thank you. Thank you. Fantastic work. Oh, so I have some friends. Thank you, friends. Great job, both the presentation and the editing. Good work, but I think you should include Morning of the Magicians as a key step in the early 60s, like links Daniken back to the Nazis. So I have on my reading list, whoop, there we go, bought a used copy of this. So that's coming. This is what I'm reading right now. Before I get to that, is this, which is an 1871 book, which seems a little bit like a ripoff of Jules Verne, To the Center of the Earth. I'm only a few chapters into it. Extinct animals down there. There's other stuff. But the reason I got interested in it is because of the mention of vril, V-R-I-L, which is something that Nazis seem to like, and it, I guess, comes completely from fiction. And so some of the people I know who are Nazis who like Atlantis also talk about vril, so I wanted to educate myself. So I'm reading that, so we'll talk about what the fuck vril is at some point. And this other, Daniken's work isn't really an original thesis and is heavily influenced, if not outright, plagiarizing the French work Morning of Magicians. Okay. And the work of Robert Charroux, himself a formerly Vichy fascist official. A compilation of numerous myths and esoterica, including tales linking Nazi Germany, Hitler, with esoteric cults, aliens, and Atlantis. Sounds like a must-read. This is not the influence of crank 1910s theosophy on some of the early German fascist movements and some key figures, but rather insane claims that Hitler was under mind control from secret societies working to overturn the spiritual world, or that UFOs were Germans hiding out in Antarctica. Many neo-Nazi groups have taken elements of this in their own belief system, as if they weren't dumb enough already. Oh, nice. Yeah, that sounds like a good one. So thank you for that recommendation, and I am on it. I'm broadening the kind of content out because I'm now much more comfortable on YouTube. I've got a good setup here. I've got hopefully now finally a decent microphone, and it's much quicker for me to edit and put up videos. And I realize there are a lot of things that I want to talk about that are not pseudoscience. So I'm just going to talk about it. And if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. Metallica had this absolutely killer cover of Elton John's Funeral for a Friend and Love Lies Bleeding. So I did a video on that. 32 comments. People are upset that I was crapping on Kirk Hammett's use of the wah pedal. I wasn't crapping on him. He uses it a lot. I mean, I think that's a fact. But I love Kirk. I think without him, that band would not sound like Metallica. So I appreciate him. I like him. Just poking a little fun. He uses the wah pedal a lot. When I used to play, that was the only effect I had. I had the distortion that is coming out of the amp, and then I had my wah-wah pedal. That was it. Crybaby. Um, I would use it both when I should have used it, and I would also use it to cover up weak playing where I didn't really have an idea, but I wanted something more interesting sounding there, so I would use some wah. And I think that he does that too. I'm not going to fault the guy because I'm living in a glass house, and I'm not Kirk Hammett, and there's no way I could be, but he uses it a lot. Um, yeah, this guy was also at the same concert I was at the Hoosier Dome at that time, now gone. 90-minute wait between the sets of Guns N' Roses Metallica. Pretty wild. Kirk is way underestimated. I don't think he's underestimated. People like Kirk. James looks like a movie star. He does. I think Lars and Kirk play great. Not so much spaghetti, but very tasty solos, perfect for the song. Yeah, they're both really good on this. I have no complaints about any of the members of Metallica's performance in this song. I thought they all knocked it out of the park. It was awesome. It was one of the best Metallica moments in 20 years. Easy. I keep making that bigger every time. First it was the last few years, then it was 10 years. I'm going to give it 20 years. Pretty good. Kirk is amazing on this song. He is. He is. I love Kirk. This guy says too many interruptions, so he did not like my video. So nobody watches them all the way to the end anyway. 5.2 million guitar. Yeah, I was making fun. I don't think he paid that much for it, but he paid a lot of money for it. This guy says it's not as good as Chicago, Dr. White. I don't know what that comment means. It is better. I don't know what that comment means either. You guys lost me there. Oh, and I did a video about getting ready to go on Monster Talk podcast, which that is now out. So you can go to the Monster Talk podcast page and hear me answering their questions about post I wrote on Bigfoot a while ago on my blog that they wanted to talk to me about. That was fun. Blake and Karen were really nice. Seemed like smart folks. I decided to give Metallica a second chance. I don't even know the name of the album. They released a new single, and I thought it was pretty boring. Still better than that stupid Motley Crue song I just listened to half an hour ago. And nobody cared about that reaction anyway. Comments on Flint, Dibble, and Graham Hancock, quote unquote, debate. It's Friday, so I'm having a glass of wine. This was a 4.5 hour discussion, moderated by Joe Rogan, between Graham Hancock and our man Flint Dibble. Yeah, so plenty of comments on this one. We have no evidence for advanced Ice Age civilization. That was one of the key moments in the debate. He qualified that by saying, among what they have studied, meaning the whole rest of the world who are not Graham Hancock, there is no evidence for an advanced Ice Age civilization. So I think that was a pretty big concession. Sean W. Gibson says Graham's Lost Civilization is kind of like the God of the Gaps. It's like the civilization of the gaps now. I agree with that. Pretty much the exact same comparison. Yep, very similar argument. Yeah, Stefano Milo, I watched his response or kind of reaction to the whole thing too. It's really was striking to me how these things have to keep shrinking down. Where if the evidence for this advanced civilization is not on land, not along the coast, not on the shelf where we've done the archaeology. It's not in the shipwrecks we've found. We don't know what plants they were eating. We can't really say anything about them Um, you have to wonder what the idea is based on. And then you come back to like where those ideas came from and why they were popular in the 1800s. And if you want to pretend that that racist past for those ideas and the reason why those ideas seemed appealing doesn't matter at all, then show me the evidence of what makes you think that it's a good idea now. Because I don't really know what else there is that's new. There have surely been new archaeological discoveries, Göbekli Tepe and all that, but a lot of these people just make that fit into the narrative that they already have, and they never confront these problems of lack of evidence. Um, if Yanaguni is the best you've got, you are not doing very well. Yeah, Graham Hancock's attack is multidisciplinary. Graham at one point said a civilization would never choose Europe due to the climate. It is the implied part of the civilization was wiped out here in the PNW Pacific Northwest. The climate here was inhospitable for a civilization just like Europe. The problem is you can keep saying it's everywhere that we haven't looked yet, because when we look places, it's not there. It hasn't been there yet. Go back to quote number one. We have no evidence for an advanced Ice Age civilization, so it's not there. And all the maps he brings up, like the Piri Reis map and stuff like that, there's plenty of information out there now to that will satisfy most people who are actually curious as to why those are not good data points. I think you had the exact take on the hyperdiffusion to extremist pipeline Dibble touched on. Yeah, I'll be talking more about that later too, especially with regard to agriculture. The hyperdiffusionist argument, which is what it is at its core, that agriculture, the idea, even the idea for agriculture, has to pass from the sophisticated people down to the not sophisticated people, and it's a one-way street. It's ridiculous. No professional anthropologist or anybody who's really studied or thought about the topic would ever say that, because it makes no sense. We actually know quite a bit about why different plants get incorporated into hunter-gatherer diets and what kicks off domestication and that sort of thing. And it's not the people coming with this chalkboard to explain how domestication is going to work and passing down the idea of agriculture. It's absurd. I don't think it was as one-sided as this comment section is claiming. Flint answered some questions, but there were a few that left me like Graham might be onto something. Which ones? Which ones? Which few are good points? Don't just wave your arms around and say that there are still good points out there and you didn't answer the arguments. Like, what are the good ones? Because I don't know what they are. I really don't. Yeah, the word civilization, that's actually a good topic for a video too. It has changed over the years. Classically, I think, like if you go back to the most of the 20th century, people just took it to mean a state level, where you had, hierarchical government, you had specialization, crafts, some kind of monetary system, writing, stuff like that. That's quote unquote civilization. So Göbekli Tepe would not qualify under that definition, but people don't use it very much anymore because it glosses over and it doesn't kind of capture all of the variability that we think is important. I don't think it's fair to lump Randall Carlson into Graham Hancock's hypothesis. I do remember when he was on Joe Rogan, he did state he wasn't necessarily confirming the civilization thing, but more the impact theory and flood data. You know, it's funny if Randall Carlson starts to try to distance himself from Graham Hancock, which I don't think will happen. I think Randall Carlson and Graham Hancock are actually tied together quite closely. Hancock relies on Carlson for all of this catastrophe stuff, the Scabland stuff, which is baloney, and other things in North America. Randall Carlson very much wants there to be an Atlantis. He has talked for hours and hours about how the Azores Plateau is the sunken Atlantis and the seamounts and all that. And I've done a couple videos on that sort of thing. He's wrong about all of that stuff. So he's not just, Mr. kind of counterculture geologist. Like, he is very much, I think, tied into the whole lost civilization idea. His kind of take on it, he's coming at it from the geological perspective, where he wants to demonstrate that I know a lot of geological terms and it all fits with this. And every one of those that I've looked at so far has evaporated. None of them have held up to even my non-geologist scrutiny or logic. Graham Hancock is a freaking grifter. I didn't say it. As a normal bystander, I saw Flint making a lot of very strong arguments against Graham's theories, but nothing to disprove him. It's not up to Flint Dibble to disprove Graham Hancock's claims. It is up to Graham Hancock to prove them. You can't just say that you haven't disproved them yet, so therefore they could be true. Again, I can go back to the metaphor of I'm going to tell you there's a teapot orbiting the sun. You can't disprove me, so we have to accept that that could be true. That very important claim could be true, and it's disingenuous of you to assert otherwise until you can disprove me. So until we turn over every rock and look under every leaf, we are not sure that there is not a lost civilization. So yes, that is a fair point. I wish you'd drop the racism accusations about people who lived 200 years back. You don't think the people who started the slave trade were racist? Vespasian 266. Read their words. Read them. They were racist as hell. That was the whole point. They needed to dehumanize other non-white peoples in order to enslave them and colonize them. They were absolutely, unabashedly racist. No, that's not an accusation. It is read their own words. It's pretty simple. Overall, the debate was pretty poor. I didn't think so. This guy is ticking out, repeating himself from the first minute of the video. Between you and Dibble mentioning his dad a good 50 times, this is real winner's circle. Read holographically stunted oligarchs over at the Smithsonian obfuscating real history's wet dream team. Another satisfied customer, whoever that is. Good job for Flint. All right. Fantastic comments there. I knew when they started to get negative, they were all positive at the beginning, then they started to get negative, which means that the video is getting to the people that actually need to see it. And of course, the people who bother to put a negative comment usually aren't the ones whose minds are going to be changed, but maybe some other people who are reading them in the same place. So that's good. Take a drink every time somebody says that Graham Hancock has good ideas that haven't been disproved. Okay, Sasquatch Sunset trailer. I don't think I got any comments on this one, which is surprising. This is a trailer for a new Sasquatch movie. Looked great. Totally going to go see it. What is this channel even about? I announced that I was going to just start talking about whatever the hell I want to, basically. It's been viewed more times than I thought. 2 comments. I've seen some successful YouTubers. Don't know if you've heard of Razor Fist. Nope. Anyway, that's just me kind of proclaiming I'm going to do my thing in case anybody's confused. I was very excited to go see Louise Post play in Chicago and also to meet her, and I will have a video coming up on that. It was a great, great concert. So this guy, John Paul Jones, says, have fun, Dr. White. Usually when people call me Dr. White, that means it's a former student. I do not know which student this is. Yeah, and then somebody commented who we were waiting around with to get in, talked to her, and that was very nice. A great, great evening, and one that I will remember for a long time. And then I just posted this video about the Motley Crue song, which is terrible. And you can see I'm wearing the same shirt, so that's how you know that we are up to date. So I hope to have something else new out this weekend if I get the chance. And thank you for watching, and thank you for commenting, and enjoy your Friday. Bye-bye.